Hello and welcome to Mansion Interviews, a podcast created to improve your English while at the same time giving me an excuse to talk to interesting people. And this episode's interesting person is Paul Urwin, who I was lucky to meet in person at New Media Expo in April. NMX, or New Media Expo, was very busy and hectic and full of stuff to do, and I didn't get the chance to spend as much time with Paul as I would have liked. So we decided to get on a Skype call and have an interview, which was great. Paul and I have several things in common. We are both originally from the UK. We both moved to Spanish-speaking countries. We both have a background in business. We both work now as English teachers. And we both, well, why not listen to the interview to find out more? Remember, you can improve your listening with comprehension questions, and you can find some help with difficult words from this interview at inglespodcast.com/Paul, P-A-U-L. So I'm here today with Paul. Hello, Paul.
Hi, Craig.
Nice to talk to you again.
No, great to talk to you. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. So Paul is the webmaster, is that correct, of 100%businessenglish.com?
That's right. Yeah, I'm the director, manager of that company, in effect, yeah.
So we have listeners to our podcast who are interested in business English. So if they go to your website, 100%businessenglish.com, what would they find there to help them with their business English?
Well, really, Craig, I think the whole thing started, I've been teaching for quite a while in Colombia. So I'm in a Spanish-speaking environment like yourself. And, whilst I was teaching a lot of students, or as I've been teaching a lot of students over here, I've really found that they need solutions to specific problems. So how are they going to give a presentation in English, or what to do when they attend a conference, for example, in the States in English? And so I started to put together some specific solutions for them. And the podcast really is designed to help them tackle those specific situations.
Right. So what differences do you see between studying business English specifically and studying general English?
Well, I think it can be quite a fine line sometimes, Craig. I mean, it depends. I do firmly believe that people nowadays should build up a basic English, and on top of that, focus on a specialist English for their particular area of interest. So whether whether they work in marketing, whether they're a lawyer or whatever. So, I think it's very, very important to have a good basic level of English. But on top of that, I think it's important to focus on business English. So really, business English is just an extension. It's not. I think sometimes we fall into the trap of seeing it as a separate subject, which of course it's not really. It's English focused on business situations.
Well, one question I get from my students is what level should they have before they start going into the area of business English? I tend to say immediate. If a student has the intermediate level, maybe B1 or B2, then they could then start. Do you agree with that? They could then start studying business English, business vocabulary, language of meetings, that kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely, Craig. I think intermediate level is about right. I think from an educator's point of view and from the student's point of view as well, I think the sooner that people can get onto business English or English that interests them, the better. Sometimes I find, when I'm teaching general English that people can lose focus a little. Once I get them up to an intermediate level and start to focus on their area of interest, let's say human resources or business planning or whatever it might be, they tend to be more focused because they can really then see the practical application of what they're learning.
Right, that makes a lot of sense. Obviously, if they're interested in a subject or if it's connected to their job, then they're a lot more they're a lot more enthusiastic about the subject that they're studying.
Absolutely, Craig. I think it's to kill two birds with one stone, if you like. So they They really learn English, advancing their English, but they're also learning about their career, their particular subject matter at the same time. And, obviously I work with lots of students in Colombia. They're fascinated to find out what's going on in the United States, what's going on in the UK, in their particular area. So that's another sort of point of interest for them as well.
I've listened to your business podcast. I do enjoy it very much. And you have a business background in finance and investment. Is that why you decided to specialize in business English, because of your background?
Well, yeah, I think definitely that's been a significant factor. I worked in the City of London for the best part of 10 years before I came out to Colombia, and I was a fund manager, so I worked in finance, and I got to see the inner workings of many of these bigger companies, and I understood how human resource departments work, how operations departments work, and absolutely, Craig, I do try and include that nowadays in my lessons and try and share some of that knowledge. So certainly coming from that background, it certainly helped me to focus on business English.
They're very different worlds, aren't they? Finance and language teaching and translation. I'm interested to know why you made the change.
Well, I think I did certainly enjoy my career in the city. I had an opportunity to come to Colombia with a financial business. I came here originally to continue working in finance, and I actually set up a financial company, and it didn't work out. And I really then started to think about teaching English. I just started teaching English really while I was planning what I was going to do. And I just enjoyed it so much. I just kept doing it. And really the whole language business came from there. And it really took me back to some 20 years ago now or more. I've always had an interest in languages. But being a sort of mathematical person, I went down the engineering route, and then I started to work in finance, and then I sort of came back to languages, if you like. So now I've really found my passion, and I don't see all of the time before in finance as lost time. As you were just saying a minute ago, I try and incorporate it into my lessons in order to really help students. So that's pretty much how that happened. The translations came on, a year or two after I started teaching, and that's a key part of the business now. So yeah, it's really my love of languages, and I'm very fortunate to be able to work in something that I absolutely love.
It sounds like you've got quite a love for Colombia if you decided to stay there after your first business venture and not go back to the UK. Absolutely.
It's a big change, but I love living here. It's a fantastic country. There's lots of developments going on. There's lots of business opportunities out here. And I'm now married to a Colombian, so that, of course, helps. So, yeah, very happy.
Could you speak Spanish before you went?
No, I couldn't speak Spanish at all, Craig. And it really was an immersion for me. And I did have some formal lessons, and I combined that with really just trying to talk as much as possible to as many people as possible, to whoever would listen, really.
So how long have you been living there?
10 years now.
And you're now translating from Spanish to English, is that right?
Yeah, I did some translation work myself for a couple of years, and now I essentially manage other translators, and I manage other teachers. And also voiceover talents. So really what we're trying to do as a company is provide an integral language services solutions effectively.
Right, and your website for translations is similar to the business side. It's 100%languages.com or 100%plc.com.
Yeah, I think you can find me through 100pcl.com, and that links out to the different parts of the business depending on what your interest is. Obviously, a lot of the focus is on teaching business English. I also teach translators how to make more money, how to be more effective in their business dealings. And so that's for translators, and we also obviously work with clients actually performing translations for them. So there are different facets to the business, but it's all one common thread, which is languages, of course.
Right. And you have a language school, Inglés Bogota?
Inglés Bogota, absolutely, Craig.
Does it specialise in business English?
It doesn't absolutely specialise. We don't absolutely specialise in business English. It really depends what people are looking for. So, sometimes that's a more general English. Sometimes it's to help children with their homework in English. And other times, absolutely, it is business English. The service that we provide, we tend to find a lot of people are business people and are looking for those kinds of solutions. So, how to, as I said before, how to give a talk in English, or how to write an email in English.
The thing that I've found in Spain is that a lot of companies who want translations into English in order to promote their business in English are not particularly careful or fussy about the way their message is translated into English. Have you found that in Colombia, or have the businesses been very aware and conscious of the fact that they need to translate correctly into English to get the right impression?
Well, I think there's the whole range. I think there are people that believe that translation is a commodity. In other words, whoever you do the translation with, it will end up being the same, which of course is not the case. And right. There are other people that understand the benefits of a quality translation. But as you said, many companies don't understand the benefits. If you are going to print a brochure, 10,000 copies of a brochure, you want it to be correct. And surely paying $50 or $100 more, for me, is neither here nor there when you're looking at the massive distribution numbers. But for some companies, they do focus on the exact cost per unit, and they don't really focus on the quality of the translation. When we do translations, for example, Craig, a qualified translator will translate the document, and then it will be reviewed by another qualified translator. So we really do focus on the quality of the documents, but not everyone does, of course.
No, and I found that here in Spain too. I have friends who are translators, and they're constantly complaining about the lack of focus on quality from a lot of companies, and they don't seem to realise how important it is. So what do you think's the biggest challenge about living in Bogota? Do you miss anything from the UK?
Absolutely. Marmite and fish and chips and those sorts of things. But,
Marmite's very divisive, I find. I'm not a Marmite fan, so you either love it or you hate it.
Absolutely. But yeah, I've got a few jars of Marmite here, and I still do drink a lot of tea, which people here seem to find quite amusing. I think that I'm English, and I do actually have quite a few cups of tea a day. So one of the biggest challenges of living in Bogota, it's a massive city, 8 to 10 million people. One of the biggest challenges is the transport, really. Can be difficult at times, but there's so many positive things about living here. The people are very happy, the people are very energetic, lively. As I said, lots of things going on, so I think it's a great place to be. And lots of things going on business-wise. So there's a community of lots of Colombians and expats as well, looking at technology developments, looking at languages, and so on and so on. So I think it's quite an exciting place to be. And of course, it's a great location. It's very well located at the top of Latin America, so easy to get to most places within Latin America, and of course up to the United States of America as well. So right. Yeah, very happy here.
Do you manage to get over to Europe often? Do you still have ties in the UK?
Yes, I do. I do still have some ties in the UK, and I think it's important for me to try and travel as much as I can and keep up contacts in different parts of the world. Of course, nowadays it's amazing just how many people you can talk to online, as we are talking now, Craig. But now that I've met you in person, of course, it's completely different. So I think that you should never lose that personal touch. And I do try to get back to the UK once a year, or up to the States once in a while as well.
Have you ever been to Spain?
I have been to Spain, but not for quite some time actually. And I haven't really been to Spain. I've been to Mallorca, and that's about it really. So I had a great time there, but I haven't had the chance to go to Spain. I very much want to go. Of course, there's some fantastic cities worth visiting. So,
well, if you make it over to Valencia, you're more than welcome to a paella here.
Okay, yeah, brilliant. Yeah.
What plans do you have, Paul, for the future as far as teaching online is concerned?
Well, I think there's a lot of solutions out there today. And I think when we look at what's best for students, I think there's nothing quite like the personal touch of being in a classroom with a student. However, the practicality of that is somewhat difficult sometimes. People are so busy. People are just rushing around everywhere. So, I think the online solutions that we can offer are very, very good. And I believe quite strongly in a blended learning approach where you have some classes, some face-to-face classes, some contact with the teacher, but you also supplement that with whatever you can get your hands on online. So certainly what I'm doing is developing a suite of online products that really are designed to help students with specific tasks. And sometimes it's about finding a specific solution. Let's say, for example, you're going to have an interview in English or you're going to give a presentation in English. Well, what many students are looking for, I find, is a specific solution to that problem. And I think that's an area that certainly we are looking to develop over the months and years ahead, Craig.
There's a video page on your website. Is video something you may develop in the future, video courses or anything of that nature?
Absolutely. I'm currently finalising a video course as we speak on pronunciation tips, specifically for Spanish speakers, actually. And I think video is important as well. I think audio is great. Everyone's different. Some people still prefer to read books. They prefer to read blog posts. Others prefer audio. Others prefer video. So I think if we can give students a range of different formats, then it's really up to them to choose what's best for them. But absolutely, I think in the future, video forms an important part of that.
Well, that's very interesting for me, and I'm sure my listeners will be very interested in seeing a video course that's aimed at Spanish speakers. So please, when that's ready to go live, please let me know so that I can share it with our listeners.
Absolutely, Craig. Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay, so as a summary, because you are involved in many things, so could you tell people where they can go to find you according to your specific niches? Because you've got the translations and the business English site and the language school. So how would you suggest people find you online?
Okay, well, thanks, Craig. Well, I think the first focal point is the Business English podcast. So you can find those at 100%businessenglish.com. The short form of that website is 100pcbe.com, and I'm also on iTunes and Stitcher, so you can track down the podcasts there. If you are interested in translations, I would suggest you check out the website 100%translations.com. And if you are interested in what we do here in Colombia, then that website is www.inglesbogota.com.
Great, fantastic. Well, thank you very much for your time, Paul. Let's stay in touch and let us know, maybe we can do a round 2 sometime when the video course goes live.
All right, brilliant. All right, well, thank you so much for having me on the show, Craig. It's been awesome talking to you, and the best of luck with all of your projects as well.
Thanks very much, Paul. Goodbye.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you very much to Paul for taking the time to talk to us. I have a strong feeling that I and you will be hearing a lot more from Paul in the near future. And thank you to you for listening to this Mansion interview. You can find more podcasts to improve your English at inglespodcast.com. And you can study English free at mansioningles.com. If you're interested in business English, why not visit Paul's site at 100%businessenglish.com and listen to his podcast. And if you would like to take a full business English course, go to mansioningles.com, where you will find Mansion Business, a course available on CD and as a digital download to your PC. As usual, there will be links to all of this information at inglespodcast.com. Cheers then, until next time, take care and keep studying English.